Antonio Allard, a 10-year-old illegal immigrant, had to say goodbye to his grandparents and younger brother to make the dangerous trip into the U.S., the land of opportunity. Him and his parents faced dehydration, hunger, and pain, just to reach the dream of a better life. Antonio hasn't seen his younger brother in over 9 years. By granting the Allards and other good, healthy families a chance to come into America, they wouldn't have to enter illegally. The U.S. should not only allow a certain number of immigrants into the U.S., and only immigrants that have undergone and passed a background check. Immigrants are coming into America for a better life, to flee from poverty, violence, and illnesses. Also, these people are better for the economy and strengthen the country. While we are saving lives and reassuring the immigrants of entrance and citizenship, we can keep families safe, happy, and together.
Can anybody imagine being taken away from their family or even dying from a deadly disease at a very young age or right now? Probably not. Bringing immigrants into the U.S. can keep families together, healthy, and safe. A path to citizenship would help families in deep need be able to access health care. Also, letting undocumented immigrants gain legal status could keep families together. Yet, nearly half, 47% of legal immigrant households consists of parent with children, assessing that we should allow immigrants to be full and family into the U.S. instead of one family member at a time. Helping immigrants into the U.S. can better their lifestyle. Also, people should not be suffering to save themselves or their children. They should be worrying about friend problems, school grades, but definitely not getting their friends taken away or their families taken away and dying from a deadly disease. We should be letting many immigrants into the U.S. to save themselves from violence and illnesses. Other people do not know they actually strengthen our government and economy. Yet, while we are saving lives and reassuring the immigrants of households and citizenship, we can keep families happy and together. Immigrant families generally come to this country with many strengths, but they also face many challenges. Some of their strengths include intact families. They can be healthy, but they can also be sick, and very strong work ethic compared to some of us U.S. citizens. These strengths can help children insulate to immigrants. These children immigrant families benefit, as does the nation, from the strengths that immigrant families bring. Most children in immigrant families have a parent working full-time year-round, live in two-parent homes, and live in families who are putting down deep roots in their local communities by purchasing their own homes. That's why we should be letting immigrants into the U.S. to keep families together and healthy.
Now we will convince you that bringing immigrants into the U.S. not only keeps families together, it makes dreams come true by starting and living a new life. Immigrants come for a better life to get away from the terrible things that we do not have to go through. The wars where sometimes families get separated, deadly diseases that you can lose family to, and better education for a better future. Immigrants are fleeing because they're trying to get away from wars in other countries. Places like Syria are definitely in a bad place right now, and people are seeking refuge in various countries, including America. We need to be helping these people who have to leave their homes for their kids' sake and for their own. Right now, we're only letting a certain amount of them come into the country, and we should not have a cap to how many of these people immigrate here. Some are leaving because of deadly diseases that are very contagious. Influenza is a huge disease that causes thousands of deaths every year. Malaria is a disease spread by mosquitoes that could be very unpleasant if you're diagnosed with it. The U.S. is one of the most medically advanced countries with various research for different diseases. The U.S. and other countries have created vaccines to eliminate these viruses, but not all countries have gotten their hands on it. Immigrants are also coming into America to get better education for themselves and their children. The U.S. is ranked number 14 in the educational system in the world. We shouldn't be pushing immigrants away from their own education. Without proper education, immigrants are unable to get good jobs and pay for better education like colleges. Immigrants are not coming here just to take your job. They're here to eventually have a better life with their family, a better education for themselves and their kids, a new start for people seeking refuge. America is the land of the free. Free to do what you want for a career, free to believe in any God, free to say what you please. Why should this freedom not be represented with immigrants? Have we forgotten that we too were once immigrants to this great land?
Immigrants are better for the economy. You might think that immigrants cost the U.S. a lot of money, but actually immigrants will work cheap and create billions of dollars for our economy. When immigrants first come, they take jobs that most Americans would never want. And immigrants take them because they don't require much schooling. They become maids, housekeepers, taxi drivers, chauffeurs, butchers, meat processors, ground maintenance workers, construction laborers, porters, bellhops, and janitors. So you still might think that they spend a lot of our money, and it's true, but they repay it by filling in jobs that have to be done. Over the past 10 years, immigrants represented 47% of the increase in the workforce in the United States. Immigrants are more likely to create their own jobs. According to the U.S. Department of Labor, 7.5% of foreign-born are self-employed to 6.6% among the native-born. But also, immigration boosts earning for American workers. Between 1990 and 2004, increased immigration was correlated with increasing earnings of Americans by 0.7% and is expected to contribute to an increase of 1.8% over the long run. According to a study by the University of California at Davis, immigrants contribute more money and jobs, increasing our economy and making it stronger. Immigrant entrepreneurs were responsible for more than 1 in 4 new U.S. businesses. According to the Fiscal Policy Institute, small businesses owned by immigrants employed an estimated 4.7 million people in 2007. And according to the latest estimates, their small businesses generated more than $776 billion annually. This is also increasing jobs. Comprehensive immigration reform could support and create up to 900,000 new jobs within 3 years. Immigrants don't just bring culture and trouble for the U.S., but billions of dollars for our economy.
Opening and main argument.
Resolved, the U.S. should only allow a certain number of immigrants into the U.S. and only immigrants that have undergone and passed a background check. We intend to prove that allowing illegal immigrants into the U.S. is unfair. Immigrants can cost Americans money, and because immigrants, there will be too many people. Allowing illegal immigrants into the U.S. is unfair. Based on my experience, it takes a long time to immigrate to the U.S. legally. My parents had to fill out paperwork, and it took a few months. People that come illegally don't fill out paperwork, and they just come in. This is unfair because the time that we took and their time is different. Also, according to welfareinfo.org, many Americans were unhappy with the welfare system, claiming that individuals were abusing the welfare program by not applying for jobs, having more children just to get more aid, staying unmarried so as to qualify for greater benefits. We also think illegal immigrants can cost Americans money. As stated in WashingtonPost.com, illegal immigrants in the United States cost the federal government more than $10 billion a year, which means they are using your money that you work so hard on to get, and using it on a person who does nothing all day. It is costing a lot of money on the Americans, but also it is unfair. Would you like your money to go away because of the illegal immigrants? We think that immigrants and illegal immigrants can make U.S. overcrowding. According to Lance T. Izumi, in 2008, there was 5.5 million illegal immigrants. Also, since 2003, 1.2 million people increased as illegal immigrants, which means there will be even more the future. Also, if there's too many people, then it will be hard to get a job or a career. Maybe when you get older, you won't get the job that you wanted because of the immigrants.
Nope, those are main arguments.
All right, you guys have a minute or so to prepare for rebuttal.
So rebuttals are next, and both your rebuttal speakers will go this time. Okay? So decide who's doing what.
Are we preparing?
Yes, we all.
You don't even say anything.
No, you're preparing your rebuttals. They do their, she didn't. That's all. And you're up first for rebuttals.
Okay, time's up.
Our opponent may say that they're costing a lot of money, but they do help our economy to get more jobs, according to research, and the U.S. gains more than 10,000 jobs per year because of immigrants. Our opponent may also say that they're not filling out paperwork, but immigrants are filling out paperwork and passing background checks. They may also say that they're costing a lot of money. Immigrants have a lot of jobs that businesses and people need, do jobs that Americans refuse to do, and immigrants work for low pay and are vital for agriculture.
So my opponent says that they work for cheap jobs, and also it's like they can get their own jobs and they can cop. But my opponent, oh wait, hold up. But we disagree. Who in here is who has Miss Roche for Spanish? Did you guys watch Sweet 15? What happened to the gardener? Does anyone remember that? Yeah, he was deported back because all he wanted was a job, but because of no papers and all the other legal immigrants, they didn't have papers, so they were all caught by the La Migra, the immigration police, and deported back. So how are you going to start and get a job or business because you don't have papers? You can't even start. Therefore, we need immigration to be, for immigrants to become citizens and background checks to be undergone and passed. Also, they say that they escape war. They come here illegally to escape war. My name is Helena Din, and Din is like 100% Vietnamese. And a while ago, there was a war, Vietnam War, you know, and my parents both had to escape that war. My mother, she set off on a family work boat in January of 1989. It took her 3 days and nights to reach Thailand. After Thailand, they reached a boat to the Philippines. In the Philippines, they worked paperwork and a 6-month education on American culture and history. After that, they found sponsors and was approved, and they arrived safely to America in September of 1989. But my father, I always wondered why he can't swim, why he won't go swimming with us, and why he just watches us from like sand or like just in the chair. And that's when I figured out that it's because after being on boat, it was a tragic moment for him, and that he can't go again. He immigrated to America in 1982, age 14. How many of you guys are 14? Did you guys have to go through that yet? No. Yeah.
He escaped the Vietnam War with his uncle, Heap Trinh, which is actually Amy Trin's dad. And she's actually in that pod, so if you know her, you know, she's second half, like third period anyways. And actually, like, our family is still together. We actually have a new Vietnamese family that came, you know, Nhung. Has anyone met her yet? She came about like 3 years ago, and it's just fantastic that we are now together, and they're actually living together. So it's nice to have a family near us again. And my dad, he stated that his parents tried to escape Vietnam with him, but they were caught and thrown in jail. So look at these people just coming into our borders without background checks, giving us insecurity feelings in coming in. Well, isn't it unfair that my family had to go different countries on boat to just prepare to become a healthy, legal citizen in the U.S.? And they never do bad things. No drugs, no abuse, no smoking, and look where my parents are now. A parents of 4. They don't need a loan. They don't need for the children, my sisters and I, to have special care. Also, how unfair is that my grandpa, a retired soldier, had to repair this on his own when his wife passed away and wanted his 8 children to get to safety. Yes, there are people who come here to be away from war, but so did they. So why can't these people have background checks? What are they afraid of? Therefore, we should make the border more strict and pass background checks.
My opponent says that it does not cost a lot of money to immigrate. But we disagree, because half of those immigrants come and are on welfare. Because according to USToday.com, more than half of the nation's immigrants receive some kind of government welfare. Therefore, we should not let the illegal immigrants come without a background check and have stricter borders.
The U.S. should not only allow a certain number of immigrants into the U.S. and only give immigrants who have undergone and passed a background check. Immigrants are coming to America for a better life, to flee from poverty, violence, and illnesses. Also, these people are better for the economy and strengthen the country. While we are saving lives and reassuring the immigrants of entrance and citizenship, we can keep families together, safe, happy, and together.
You've heard the facts and the struggles of immigrants. Here is a true personal story about my dad's journey to the United States. 1993, right when he graduated high school, he wanted to look for better opportunities for his future. He decided to sell his belongings to be able to even afford his plane ticket. This was the beginning of my dad's story. After a plane ride from Camargo to Chihuahua, my dad and his cousin took a bus to Juarez, which is the closest city to the border. This is where the hard part began, because they didn't have documents to cross. They thought to themselves how lucky they were compared to other people. While walking to the border, they noticed that the immigration officers were distracted because he was checking other people's, because they were checking other people. They saw the opportunity to enter the U.S. They made it to the airport, they bought tickets to Kansas, and that's when they got caught by immigration. They threw them into a facility where they captured illegal immigrants that have passed the border. And after 12 hours, they released everyone back to Mexico. With the little money they had, they stayed at a hotel. He couldn't sleep, so him and his cousin decided to try to cross again. It was around 1 a.m. While they approached the immigration officer, my dad said, "American," and the officer let them pass. That was the start of his great life. His first job was being a dishwasher at a Mexican restaurant called Garcia's. He studied and worked hard for many years and became a union electrician and brought my mom and me in 2003. Now he considers himself fortunate because he can provide for his family. If my dad hadn't risked getting caught, he wouldn't have had the life he wanted. This is why hardworking immigrants that want and deserve to be here should be able to enter the U.S.
The U.S. should only allow a certain amount of immigrants into the U.S. and who have undergone and passed a background check. We have already shown that immigration costs more money, it's overcrowding, and it's unfair to legal immigrants that illegal immigration is happening. But we'd also like to point out that immigrants without background checks are dangerous. How are we supposed to know that illegal immigrants aren't bringing in drugs or weapons into the U.S.? According to Statista.com, terrorism rates have gone up since 9/11 to today. Are those rates going up because of no background checks? In airports, we have upped the security. Why can't we do that to our borders? In the end, background checks are needed and it will keep our country safe. Illegal is illegal. When U.S. citizens go into different countries, we follow and obey their laws. If illegal immigrants aren't going to follow our laws, why should we be giving them the Bill of Rights to become an American citizen?
Okay, clap for this whole group. Very good job.